And so first up, we have Mr. Martin Hyde from Sarasota.
You all feel safe now? I'm not here to say Superintendent Bowden is doing a less than satisfactory job as the CEO of our school district. I'm here to say he's doing a shocking job and should be dismissed for cause immediately. Executive authority in an organization with a budget over $900 million should be exercised thoughtfully and always equitably. How thoughtful was Mr. Bowden's decision to send armed police to the home of a concerned parent, Drew Peters, last year in response to an email that dared criticize Mr. Bowden? In terms of equity, compare the kangaroo court that Mr. Bowden hastily convened last week with himself as both judge and jury to dismiss the security aide at Riverview in a matter of hours with the handling of his crony, Mr. Maltsby. Mr. Bowden is quoted as saying on the Riverview incident, "It is never easy to dismiss a staff member who is liked by their peers." Our superintendent went on to say, in the case of Mr. Howard, his behavior and actions were terribly inappropriate and not at all aligned with the responsibilities of a district employee. Decisive action was suggested by the available evidence, and it was taken, for which I fully concur with Mr. Bowden, but that's where our accord ends. Why, in contrast, do we have Mr. Maltsby still on taxpayer-funded leave for months, enjoying a healthy raise, thanks to you, to boot, when the evidence presented to our superintendent was even more compelling than the video at Riverview? Surely the simple existence of hundreds and hundreds of personal texts to a subordinate from a senior manager would be enough to convince the superintendent that at a bare minimum his friend, Mr. Maltsby, didn't possess the judgment to be in such a role. What's to investigate, one might ask, once the texts were proven to have come from Mr. Maltsby and the content of them read? The matter should be just as clear-cut as any video, and frankly more concerning, as it wasn't an isolated response, but a pervasive campaign that, to borrow Mr. Bowden's solemn words, was terribly inappropriate and not at all aligned with the responsibilities of a district employee. Our school board chair is on record as saying our superintendent is a visionary, which he must be, because nobody else other than him could have foreseen a circumstance into which he'd be able to use taxpayer resources to look after the interests of himself and his pals when they're accused of wrongdoing while investigating their victims with taxpayers' money. You might recall that I gave the school board an F in May 2018, and I'd suggest each of you giving Mr. Bowden one as an evaluation today, along with his pink slip.